make this, you are gonna need 80 grams of DK weight, and I highly recommend doing a cotton weight yarn. I am using Yarn Bee Braided Basic Small. It's actually a macrame, but I find that it works really well with this pattern. Once again, I highly recommend that you use a cotton fiber yarn. You could actually use another weight of yarn and not DK. Just know that one, you'll definitely have to go up in hook size, and I will tell you exactly the length that each cord should be, so your row counts will be a little bit different than mine. You'll need a G hook if you are using DK weight yarn. You'll need a 2.5 millimeter ring. You could do any type of ring. This is just so you can actually hang the plant hanger. And then I used 3 16 millimeter wooden beads. So make sure that there is a hole going all the way through the beads. You can do smaller ones as well. Just make sure that your hook can go through the bead. So we're first going to go over the first strap of the plant hanger. This is the thicker one. You will be making 3 of these. And what we're gonna be doing is when we are done with this first strap, it's going to be attached to the ring, go all the way down, have a strand here, have another strand here, and that's it. So this counts as the main strap, but this is the first tier of the strap. This is the second tier of the strap, and this is the third tier of the strap. It'll make more sense when we get into it, but that way you know my lingo and how I explain this pattern. So we're gonna be creating the first strap on tier 1. So we're gonna make a slip knot and keep it pretty loose. We're gonna insert our hook, but don't tighten the loop all the way to our hook. Keep it fairly loose. Just because we're working with cotton, it's a little hard to go into that first chain, so we're gonna keep it pretty loose. And we're gonna chain 4. So now we're going to be putting a puff stitch in the first chain we made. How we do a puff stitch is we're going to act like we're gonna double crochet, insert into that first chain, pull up a loop, but we're gonna do that a total of 4 times. So that was 1, yarn over, insert our hook, pull up a loop, that's 2, yarn over, insert our hook, pick up a loop, that's 3, insert, yarn over, pull up, that's 4, and then, just kidding, we do it 5 times. So 1 more, we insert, pull up a loop 5 times. So you should, if we count all the loops on our hook, we should have 11 loops on our hook. So then we're gonna yarn over and pull through all the loops except for the first loop that was on our hook. Once that's done, we're gonna yarn over, pull through both of them. And that is our first puff stitch and technically our first row. Then we're gonna chain 3 and turn. So turn our puff stitch over. So now we're gonna just keep doing puff stitches, but instead of working in that first chain, we're gonna be working between the last puff stitch and the chain 3 right here. So we're gonna be going into that space here. So to do a puff stitch, we do this 5 times. So we're gonna yarn over, go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we're gonna yarn over, pull through all the loops but the last one, then yarn over, pull through 2. Chain 3, 2, 3, and turn. So we're just gonna keep repeating this row. So the next spot we go into is right here between the puff and this chain 3, going right into there. And we're gonna keep going until we have a total of 23 puffs. So we can count them as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way down until we have 23. If you're using a different weight yarn, instead of counting your puffs, you're going to measure until you have 11 inches long of cord. So I'm gonna continue, turn my work, put a puff where I'm gonna insert into that space 5 times, pull through all the loops but 1, pull through 2, chain 3, turn. And continue doing that until you have 11 inches or 23 puffs total. You should now have 23 puff stitches down your cord, or you should have 11 inches. And we ended on a chain 3. So we're gonna turn our work and we're going to do one more puff stitch. So go in 5 times and then yarn over, pull through till the last, yarn over, pull through 2, and then we are going to chain 3, but we're not gonna turn. We're gonna slip stitch between the 2 puff stitches, working across the cord we just made. Slip stitch right into that space, pull through, then we're going to chain 4 and slip stitch between the 2 again, and just do that all the way up until the last 2. So we're gonna chain 4, slip stitch between the 2 puff stitches all the way up. Okay, so then we're gonna slip stitch between the last 2 here. So we're gonna chain 2, and then we're just gonna slip stitch somewhere at the very top point. I'm gonna go right here, and we're gonna slip stitch there. So now we should be at the very top of our cord, and we should have chained all the way down the side here. Now we're gonna work on attaching to our wooden ring. So we're going to chain 6, 5, 6. Then we're gonna get our wooden ring. We're going to put it behind our work, and we're actually gonna grab the yarn through the ring and do a chain. So now our working yarn should be through the ring. So we're gonna bring it down underneath the ring and do another chain from underneath, and now we should be fully attached to the ring, and you should have 2 loops inside the ring. Now we're just gonna slip stitch down our chain 6. So here's our last chain we did. So now I'm just gonna slip stitch down, and then we're gonna slip stitch to where we started our chain. And there you go, we have fully added the ring to our cord. So now what we're gonna do is we're going to basically work our chains that we did on this side on this side. So we're gonna start with a chain 4, and we're going to once again slip stitch between the 2, which I like to go in this little space here, but that is between these 2 puff stitches, and slip stitch. And you'll just continue doing that all the way down. So chain 4 and slip stitch between the 2. Once we slip stitch to our last in between, we are then going to chain 3 and slip stitch to the very top of the strap, which I am just gonna place right here. Slip stitch, and we should be at the very bottom of our long strap, where one end has the circle on it and the other end we are attached to. So now we are going to be working on the Romanian cord that goes down and then has a wooden bead at the end of it. This is our tier 2. So this is our tier 1, we just finished it. Now let's do our tier 2. So to work our tier 2, we're gonna chain 1, and we're gonna single crochet into that stitch, and we're gonna keep it pretty loose. Then we're gonna turn clockwise. We're going to insert our hook just in the front loop of the single crochet we just did, and we're gonna do another single crochet, keeping it pretty loose. And then turn clockwise again. Now we can see there's 2 little loops right here. So we're gonna do a single crochet, but we're actually gonna be going into these 2 loops right here, underneath them. So we're gonna insert our hook underneath those 2, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 to complete our single crochet. Then we're gonna turn clockwise, and now we can see our 2 loops right here. Go in those 2, yarn up, pull up, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and turn clockwise. And you're just gonna keep going, doing this, making sure to turn clockwise every time, going underneath these 2 bars here to create your Romanian cord. And you're gonna keep going until your cord measures 4 inches or 10 centimeters long. Okay, so here's what your Romanian cord should look like. Mine is at 4 inches. So now we are going to turn clockwise again, and we're going to attach a wooden bead. So we're gonna take our bead, you're gonna put it on your crochet hook, and you're gonna grab your working yarn and pull it through your working loop and also through the bead. And then we're gonna pull our loop up just a bit, grab our yarn, pull it around the bead. So now we have fully attached our wooden bead to our work. So now we're gonna work on tier 3. So we just finished tier 2. Now let's work on tier 3. So we're gonna chain 1, and we're going to go into this loop here that's around the bead, and we're gonna do a single crochet and keep it pretty loose and turn clockwise. Then we're gonna do like we did to start this other one. We're gonna go into the front loop only and complete a single crochet, keeping it pretty loose. Turn clockwise. We're gonna continue making another Romanian cord that is also, once again, 4 inches or 10 centimeters long. One thing to keep in mind is that you can change the lengths of these tiers. Just know that you're gonna have to do this cord 3 times. So there are 3 different cords being attached to the wooden circle. So just know that if you change the length of any of these cords, all of the cords that are in that same tier are gonna need to be the same exact length. So you can make these longer, just make sure you make that change everywhere on the cords. My tier 3 is now at 4 inches. So to finish this off, what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn clockwise. We're gonna work like we're gonna be doing another one, yarn over, pull up a loop. But instead of completing a single crochet, we're gonna complete a slip stitch. So just take your second loop and pull it through your first one. And then we're going to fasten off. But for our very first strap, since we only have 1 ring on, we're going to cut a longer end here. That way we can use it to sew up the bottom when we have all 3 straps. I recommend leaving around like 5 inches of cord for sewing at the bottom. I'm just gonna do about there. And we're gonna fasten off. And there you go. There is 1 completed cord done. You are going to repeat this entire step, adding 2 more cords onto this ring, where you should have 3 cords hanging from this ring. Once you have 3 attached here, we will move on and work on the next steps. But I will see you when you have 2 more of these same exact straps attached to your wooden ring. We have tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. And one of your straps too should have a little bit longer cord. That way we can sew these 3 cords together to be underneath your plant. Now we're gonna work on the second strap of tier 2. So that is this space here. What we're gonna do is we're going to attach another Romanian cord to the sides of each cord, and we're gonna attach it to the top of the bead of the next cord. To make sure that we do this correctly, you may need to lay this out a little bit and figure out which cord will go where. One of our Romanian cords might be leaning a little bit more on one side than the other, not straight down. So we're gonna try to do our Romanian cord on the other side. So this one will go here, this one will go here, this one will go all the way around to this guy. So you may need to hold it up to see exactly which one goes to where. You definitely want to make sure you don't cross anything and make it all weird. That way it's a big circle around. So let's go over how we add the second cord to the second tier. So I'm going to start with this cord that is going to go to this one. We're going to create a slip knot, and I'm going to pull this one and attach to the other side. I'm going to put my hook through, put my slip knot on, and pull through. So now that I'm attached, we're gonna chain one, and then we're gonna loosely single crochet in the same place we joined our yarn. Then we turn our work a single crochet in the first loop, the front loop, loosely, turn clockwise, and then we have our 2 loops here to start our Romanian cord. We're gonna keep doing this until the Romanian cord is 4 inches or 10 centimeters, or the same exact length as the cord that you're right next to. Okay, I am done with my cord. My cord is the same exact length as the one that it is next to. I am gonna lay my cords back out. We're going to attach it to this bead right here. So what we're gonna do is make sure you're not twisting anything, and we're just gonna go underneath the yarn that is around the bead and do a slip stitch. And then once we slip stitch, we're basically going to fasten off. We'll cut the yarn, fasten off, and there we go. It is fully attached, and then you will need to hide your ends later. And now you're just going to continue that same exact step. So we attached this side to this one. So now we're gonna create another strap right here where we're gonna attach this one to this one. And then finally, we're gonna create a second one over here that'll attach all the way to the other side here. You should now have 2 cords attached to each of the end of the strap, and your beads should each have 2 cords on top and 1 on bottom, and hopefully you did not twist anything. We are going to join up the bottom. You may find it helpful to hang this before you sew up the bottom. To do this, I recommend using a tapestry needle. So I'm gonna thread my longest tail, which should have been the first cord that you finished, through the tapestry needle. So you want to keep the outside of the strap to the outside. What we want to do is we're going to thread up between the stitches first, and then we're going to grab our next strap in the round, make sure it's facing outwards, and then loop from the inside again for the next strap. So we're going through that top stitch here, keeping it kind of towards the outside here, not front and back like this. And then we're gonna get the third one, make sure it's facing out, and then go through that top as well. And then just kind of reshape it a little bit. And then we're gonna go through the first one again to join up the circle here. Now you're just gonna kind of reinforce this. We wanna make sure this is super strong. That way your pot does not fall through. So we want to just keep threading. So I'm going to go through another place here. And we really want to try to make it flat on the bottom so that your pot sits nicely. Once you've went around the circle like 2 or 3 times, I recommend using one of the other tails of the cords to tie it off. And there you go. The bottom should look something like this, and then you just need to hide your ends. If you feel like it needs more fastening off, definitely do so. You want to make sure this does not come apart or you will have a really big mess and be sad. One last step we're going to do is we're going to join these top 3 cords. That way it just gives a clean finish to the top of where we're going to hang. This also can help with making sure if you did accidentally kind of twist these cords, once we join this, it won't really look like it. So one thing I recommend doing first is taking these yarn ends that are up here and hiding them a little bit up this chain. That way when we wrap around it, we can hide the ends underneath. It'll just be more secure. We're going to join these 3 by doing a wrap knot. A wrap knot is used a lot in macrame, but it's pretty simple. And now we need a strap of yarn. I have some extra pieces that I'm going to use for this, but you can use the yarn that's attached to your skein. That way you only use as much as you need. But what we're going to do is we're going to take our yarn end and we're going to make a little loop. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna hold our work right here. We're gonna make this little loop like so. And then we're gonna start wrapping around, but we wanna keep the tail of the loop above where we're wrapping because we want access to that later. And then we should have a little loop down below that we also do not wanna wrap around. So we're gonna leave that out and I'm gonna start wrapping. And you wanna make sure you wrap pretty tight. You can wrap as many times as you want. I recommend wrapping at least 15 times around and make sure the top of the end here and the loop are still showing. Okay, so once you have as much as you want wrapped, or about 15 times, if you're still attached to your skein, you're gonna cut a tail end, probably about like this much, and we're going to thread the tail through the loop on the bottom and pull it through. Then we're gonna take our top tail that we left out and we're gonna pull up. And you can see as we pull up, it's pulling that loop, making this tighten. And we can no longer see it, it pulls it up top. So what we wanna do is we wanna cut to the very bottom of this thread when we have just pulled a tiny bit enough to hide it. And then we're gonna pull a tiny bit more to fully hide that tail that we just cut. Once you have it pulled all the way through, you're just going to cut it off and then it's fully hidden. Then you can actually cut the other ends that we hid in the middle if you still have some extra hanging out, and then hide the rest of the ends all the way through, which I already did, and you are done. That is completely it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you love this plant hanger. I think it's so cute, and I love how customizable it is to make it super long or short depending on the space that you have. If you like this tutorial, please give this video a big thumbs up. And please subscribe if you're not doing so already to see so many more videos from me. Thank you so much for watching.